On today's show, there comes a time in everyone's life where you'll be tested beyond belief. It's called the dark night of the soul. We've entered it with the Dallas Mavericks. How did they get out of it? No idea. But here we sit. This is Locked On Mavs.
I'm gonna get a city like that.
Dogs, all of us, all five.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Wesley.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave me alone.
Your team every day.
Gotta be born with it. Dog.
And welcome. You're locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years and more, though. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen, being an everydayer. Joining me, as always, the postgame prodigy from the great Slightly Biased YouTube channel. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
25 days. Corey Seager, Marcus Simeon, Wyatt Langford. They take the field, folks.
Round and third and heading for home. Slightly Biased is now covering baseball.
That's right.
This Mavs season has been so bad, he pivoted to baseball, the dying sport.
Hey, man, baseball was... You know I used to cover baseball?
Yeah, you played, right? You played for
But did you know I was a writer for a bit?
I did. I knew that. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you knew that. All right, well, now everyone knows.
You don't think I did a deep dive on you before I invited you to be on this show consistently? You don't think I know what your first name was before I did that?
Oh, interesting.
Today's episode, we'll maybe get into the Mavs loss to the Sacramento Kings, quote-unquote Mavs by the end of it. We'll talk about Kai Jones and his debut and what he did. We'll talk about Naji Marshall. I thought he showed something. But we got to start here slightly. And to quote Kenny the Jet Smith, it's over. It's over.
Yeah.
It's over for the Dallas Mavericks this season.
Not said in an exciting way either.
No, not said in a not said in a Vince Carter way, not said in a, this is it. It's over for the Dallas Mavericks this season. Kyrie Irving goes down with an injury at the end of the second quarter, and you can just tell immediately that he is going to need some extra help, that he was going to need help up. He was helped to the bench, and then eventually he helped to the free throw line. We'll talk about that moment. It was an amazing moment, but we just go big picture here real quick. The Dallas Mavericks season, as we know it, is over. The whole, all right, we'll wait until they get healthy, the Thursday, the March 6th date, all that. I mean, if Kyrie is going to miss weeks, which a hyperextension, some kind of, the Mavs are calling it a left knee sprain, if that's what it is, then there's a glimmer of hope that they come back with, 2 games left in the season. Right? And we get 2 games of Kyrie, AD, Lively, Gafford, Caleb Martin, PJ Washington, whoever else is going to be out for the rest of the season, right? Jaden Hardy just went out too in this game. Then there's maybe that. And maybe the Mavs stay alive. And maybe, but it's so many maybes that right now you're hoping for maybe a healthy play-in game. And that's it. And then maybe it's that. But to me, I think the Mavs cut their losses. And they do all that. They move forward because now you have an opportunity to improve your pick here, and to get get a better asset for the offseason. They're going to go big fish hunting and do all that kind of stuff this offseason. But man, the season is just done now with that injury.
Wow, so you're pivoting to Team Tank.
Yeah, well, I mean, what else do they do?
Yeah, I mean,
unless the injury is better than we think, right?
So. From what I could gather doing my Twitter doctor research, Brian Soderer,
shout out.
Yes, shout out. Feels like best case scenario. We're talking 3 weeks.
Right.
2 weeks through best case. That is, we skirted disaster here. We got really lucky. 2 to 3 weeks. That's feels like that's the season right there. I mean,
that's it. I mean, there's only 5 weeks left of the season, really, right? Because it ends April 10th. So, I mean, we really don't have that much more. So, what Brian Soderer said, and go watch his video, great YouTube channel. This was the first podcast he was ever on, by the way, which I think we discovered him, I think. That's my claim to fame.
All right, yeah.
He was on before he even started a YouTube channel. He's like, hey, I'm thinking about starting a YouTube channel. I'm like, oh, that's pretty nice. Now he has a million followers. He said, it is a significant hyperextension, the way that he was analyzing the injury, and he's a sports doctor and all that kind of stuff. Could be mild to season ending, right, if you just look at the hyperextension. But he was kind of hopeful that there was not a lot of movement side to side of the joint, that he may have avoided an ACL-type injury. Again, we're doing the just analyzing from the video, this guy, he knows what he's talking about, but we don't know exactly how Kyrie's feeling, all that. He also said there's no external force on the knee during the injury, which is also a good sign. So that's why he thought that maybe that he could have avoided some kind of ACL tear or something like that. But if it is a hyperextension and a significant one, he mentioned the term. I think he mentioned 4 to 6 weeks. And I heard somebody else mention 4 to 6 weeks for an injury like that. And if it's 4 weeks, then what do you do? Then you might as well just pack up the season, right? To me, and that's where we are right now. It felt like the season had died there when Kyrie was laying on the ground and getting helped up and all that. We'll mention the great moment, but. Yeah, I feel like that was it.
So we know Kyrie's a warrior. I mean, shooting the free throws, like that's iconic level stuff after that injury. If I'm him, and let's say we do skirt disaster, how much am I wanting to rush myself back? How much am I wanting to maybe go out there last 2 weeks of the season at 50, 60, 70%, maybe a small risk of re-injury when I've got a potential free agency right around the corner? It just doesn't make sense from his side. And I know he's a warrior, and I know that's probably not going to be the route that he takes. He's going to want to play if it's possible for him to play. But I just think it's very possible that was the end of Kyrie Irving's 2024-2025 season. And, yeah, I mean, at this point in time, like, what are we going to rush AD back? And there's going to be the
again. You're going to rush him back again?
Rush AD back, rush PJ back. Like, I get what you're saying at this point. It's just we are already kind of hoping that maybe Lively could be back like with the last 2 or so weeks of the season. That seemed like a best case scenario at that point. Yeah. At this point, why is that the case? And if that's the route you are going to take, I mean, I guess you'd be tanking, I guess, but it wouldn't be a.
It's an organic tank because you just have so many injuries.
You're going to lose a ton. I mean, it's going to be tough to win any games if there's no Kyrie, no Lively, no Gafford, no AD the rest of the season. I mean, it's genuinely you're going to have to fall backwards into wins. Like, that's it.
Yeah, and we'll have time to analyze that in the tank and what it means. And we'll have Rafael Barlow of Locked On NBA Big Board on to talk about the draft prospects. I already had a Mavs fan come up to me and be like, so, who do you like at the top of the draft? Like, all right, it's a little too quick. It was like in the middle of the third quarter. I was like, it's a little too quick to be doing that. But yeah, you look at the moment itself, and 2 minutes, 35 seconds left in the first half, or in the first quarter. Man, he didn't get out of the first quarter. Kyrie Irving goes down with the injury. He gets kind of kneed in the thigh, and then that hyperextends his knee. Then when he planted, he falls down. He's on the ground, and immediately he looks up, and he kind of like smiles when he looked up a little bit. But then he calls over the training staff, and you could tell.
Wince.
It could have been. It could have been just like it could have been both, like the laugh because you can't cry kind of moment, where it's just like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. He's like, I can't believe it feels like this. So he calls the training staff over. They come over. There's a stoppage. They're down with him for a while. Then he gets helped up. Well, then AD comes over and helps him up, and then helps him to the bench. He hobbles to the bench. Then he realizes he's got to shoot these free throws if he wants to come back in, or just because he was given them. And so he gets helped to the free throw line. And honestly, like, everything is terrible. Everything is the worst right now. You could go back. I mean, the last 33 days for the Dallas Mavericks fans has been probably the darkest times in franchise history, including the season where they won like 10 games, including Dirk's 2007 where he won the MVP and then they lost in the first round, including the finals in 2006, including the finals last year, like including so many things. This has probably been the darkest time. But there's been one, like, this was one incredible moment. When Kyrie goes to the free throw line, takes these free throws, and like you could see, he was going to go to the bench, then they help him to the free throw line, and then he makes both free throws, and you could see like a tear coming down his eye. Maybe it was sweat, but I'm gonna say it's tears. You can see a tear coming down like it was coming down his face. He was like sniffling, and then AD helps him to the locker room, and you had that one like triumphant moment where you just saw what Kyrie has meant to this team, or what Kyrie has been for the Mavericks this season. He's been a warrior. He's been fighting. He's been helping this team. I posted earlier today, the Mavericks have a puncher's chance at 6th and had a winning record despite missing so much time from all these guys, right? You have Luka and AD missing 38 games. Kyrie missed 12. Lively 28, 29. PJ 14. Naji 13. Gafford 10 games and counting. Exum 49 games. Caleb Barton 11 games and counting. Like, you missed so much time, and yet this Mavs team had still fought to this moment, and Kyrie embodied all of that And in that moment, you got like one last triumphant. This is what the Mavericks season stood for, at least the players on the court. And we'll see what happens going forward. But I just thought that was a moment that encapsulated a lot of what this team stood for as long as they've had these injuries going.
Yeah, and you saw the crowd is really into it. I mean, Kyrie means
Huge.
a lot to
MVP
this team.
chance.
MVP chance. Kyrie means a lot to these fans. He's this beacon of hope, like you said, this very dark season. And, I really thought that he was going to be an All-NBA player this year, and I'm just assuming if he misses the rest of the season, he will not qualify for that. It's just worst-case scenario. We had talked about how concerning the workload has been for him, and you put this much pressure and stress on a guy like Kyrie Irving at his age with the back injury that he's already dealing with. You're kind of setting yourself up, and the potential injury risk that's there. And what sucks is this was kind of a freak accident thing.
He was just driving
into it. It wasn't like his knee just gave out. He got bumped into this hyperextension, and man, I just feel so bad. It just feels horrible.
Brutal for him, brutal for the Mavericks, brutal for Mavs fans all over. They've just gone through so much this last stretch. Coming up, let's talk about what the Mavs do now. What do they do without Kyrie? And then we'll get into the game and how the Mavs played in this one and a couple things that stood out. Coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by DoorDash. SGA scored 50 points last night in the NBA. So if you're an NBA fan, you can win because he scored 50. That means you get 50% off an order up to $10 off the next day. So that means tomorrow or Tuesday, if you're listening to this, from noon to midnight. If you're a Dash Pass member, you get 50% off an order today because SGA scored 50 points. So anytime somebody else scores 50 points throughout the rest of the season, you can get 50% off a DoorDash order up to $10 off from the next day from noon to midnight. Sign up for Dash Pass. Be ready to save. If any player scores 50 points, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Use that promo code NBA50. That's the letters NBA and then the number 50. From noon to midnight after 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more about DoorDash, Dash Pass, all that. Take advantage of the deal now.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
God, the shut it down has such a different connotation right now than it usually does from Dirk. Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, what we call our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. If you're here, you're a Mavs fan, and you're enduring this, hey, we're right there with you. And we will not stop doing shows. I know that people have booked it to LA and started to do Lakers content. I saw every time I see Iztok tweet about and post something about the Lakers, it hurts my heart just a little bit more every time.
He's still doing Mav stuff, to be fair.
I know he does both. He does both, but still every night it's like slowly but surely. And now we'll still be doing Mavs stuff, Mavs content. Slightly, and I would do every post game except for on Thursdays when he has softball.
Look up Wyatt Langford highlights. Do the math.
All right, Slightly. Kyrie goes down. Now what do the Mavericks do? Are you in with me that they should? This is now the season's over. Let's tank it out. Let's go. I mean, shut everybody down. On Thursday, we learned that they're shutting everybody down. I think that's the direction that they need to go in.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying that it's anyone who's there's already been people who have been on Team Tank and shut it down, and I've said there's just no way because there's not a team on the outside looking in that's pushing you in any serious way to at least fall out of the play-in tournament. And, I guess it's possible the Suns turn their sinking ship around and just win a few games here and there. Maybe the Blazers start to get hot and rack up wins again like they did over that month-long stretch they had. They did win tonight. So, yeah, I mean, if with Kyrie out, your ceiling is now next to nothing. I mean, what's the benefit of rushing back Anthony Davis? And now you've reached this point where this was the death blow. It's like, I don't know. You can already kind of sense it. You can sense it when you watch the games. The crowds are just there. They're just there, and they're just kind of hanging around praying that there's at least something to be excited about.
There was the same amount of excitement in the second quarter for the Mavs Kai Jones getting a dunk than there was in the fourth quarter when everybody was gone. It's like they're just excited for anything basketball to happen. It's not about the team as a whole or following exactly what's happening in the game. And So I think you've now reached the point where it's all right. I don't know
I don't know if the city would burn to the ground if we came out tomorrow and were like, yeah, AD is done for the season, actually.
Well, the city if the city was going to burn to the ground, it would already have.
Right, but then it was like, imagine if all of this happened and then they announced that AD was actually going to miss this. And now it's just like, yeah, just in this and let's just see.
It would be very Mavs of this season for AD to come back on March 6th.
I know.
It's just like...
Well, I thought March 6th was more of the reevaluation date. It wasn't like
correct. Yeah, I never thought he was going to come back on March 6th, but it would be very funny for them to just be like, hey, AD's back now, guys.
I mean, what do you do? I guess here's the question: what do you do if the doctors and maybe they get a second opinion too, and they're like, he's good, like there's not a risk, like he can play right now and be 100% good.
Yeah, I mean,
tell him you're shutting him down. Like you just traded for him. You tell him, hey, we're not going to play you the rest of the season.
As long as he's not if he's not at risk, or if they're not pushing it. I mean, I guess so. I guess go for it. But it makes more sense team roster wise, and I don't know that this team always thinks about team roster wise and thinks about the future, but they should to just shut everybody down, get the draft pick a little bit better.
We have reached the point.
and honestly to just have guys come back healthy and 100%, right? Because I think if anything, you'd push somebody, even if the doctors were like, yeah, he's good to go. Good to go is not 100%, right? Necessarily.
Yeah. True. And I think part of the problem, part of the thing that factors into the equation now is we spent a while talking about, man, this team's fighting really hard.
Yeah.
And they still are, and I credit all the guys out there, but they're starting to look less and less and less competitive in these games. Even the game that they won against the Hornets was disgustingly ugly. And it's kind of reaching this point now. It's all right. All of the things that we had been saying for weeks about, hey, be careful about this, but they really need their guys back because it's not sustainable to play this way. You're going to get cold shooting stretches from some of these guys. Playing these guys too many minutes is going to really come back to bite you. And you're now seeing that. And, I just try to put myself in the head of this team, this front office and stuff, the key decision makers. They're 2.5 games up of the play-in spot. I'm sorry, 3.5 games up. Wait, no, I'm sorry. I'm not even. Yeah, 3.5 games up.
Yeah.
Of a play-in spot currently. With 20 games left, that might not sound like a lot, but with 20 games left, that's kind of a lot of ground to cover, especially when the teams below you are not winning. Like, you're not talking about a team that's just on a rampant winning pace.
Well, the Blazers are.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even they're 5-5 in their last 10, so they have cooled off.
That's rampant for them.
Yeah, true. I mean, they were going crazy for a while, and they're only half a game back of the Suns right now.
I know. They're coming.
You are 4 games up on them, so, but I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is I'm not confident that they're going to take the shut it down approach, although I do agree that is probably the best course of action.
It really will depend on the injury status on March 6th. On Thursday, if any of those guys are close to coming back, maybe they bring them back because they are just running out of bodies too. You're risking this whole thing stemmed from trading Luka for a guy that was already injured, rushing that guy back, and then him getting injured because he went 100%, like 150% in that game to try and prove something to the city. I believe that he caused the injury because of that. Nico also traded another healthy player, Quentin Grimes, for another injured player in Caleb Martin. And so then I exasperated it a little even more. So then Kyrie has to play more. Clay has to play more. All these guys are having to play a little bit more. Now the Kyrie injury, it just has escalated. Oh, the PJ injury, he gets rushed back. He even admitted he came back a little too quick. Like, it just has been this snowball effect where it all stemmed from the injuries that started at the beginning of the season, and some of it's out of the Mavs' control for sure. But rushing guys into it to try and prove something, rushing guys back to hold on to this spot in the play-in, rushing guys back to hold on to the hope of the season and the hope of the franchise, really, it feels like.
Yeah.
And we've been holding on to it and saying, all right, well, what if when healthy, we keep saying that over and over again. And now I think this was the final straw for me, at least, is that, all right, there's no coming back from this where something great happens at the end of this. Could they? Everybody comes back and they win a playoff series. Like, I can't imagine.
That would be a miracle at this point. Like, if they win a playoff series, that would be a miracle. At this juncture, like, the only real thing that we had going for us was they were staying afloat. And it was the fact that this clump of teams that you're in nobody was pulling away, and they still find themselves a game and a half out of the 6th seed. So that was the whole hope, was that you get your guys back and you go on a 3-week hot stretch and you might be the 6th seed.
Yeah.
And now it's just, I don't know. I mean, you make, I don't know. It's just, I don't see how you come out of this without tanking, whether you just make that decision or not, or it's just something that happens.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like shut everybody down, shut Clay down. I don't think I'm really even saying that, like a healthy player. I'm not really saying that, but the guys that all have these ongoing injuries or injuries that are going to take them up towards the end of the season. I mean, Lively, what was his 2 to 3 months? Well, the 3 months was going to be the very end of April, or the end of the season in April. Yeah. And so, yeah, just get them all to 100%. We'll do the thing all offseason where we say, well, if healthy, this Mavs team is the matchup nightmare when they're all look really good. But yeah, I think that's more important. You have an actual chance next year if they're healthy, and your window is not that big. I mean, with this team, right? So you don't like. I guess maybe it's wasting one, but you don't want to push next season.
I mean, we're doing the next season thing. If the Kyrie news is very bad, that's in jeopardy.
True.
Like that could.
Well, then it's done. Then it's done anyway. It's done organically.
Yeah, that is now. It's well. I guess that's a conversation that might be too scary to have currently. And
we'll have that conversation this summer on Locked On Mavs.
No, I'm saying because I guarantee you we'll know in the next 24 or so hours if the Kyrie news.
If it's really the worst, if it's the worst thing, we'll learn that. We won't learn a timeline forever probably with them. But
and if it's a sprain or something, we won't know a timeline for a while. But if it's the really bad news, we will know.
Yeah, if he if something tears or something that's something that they can easily find or whatever. Coming up, let's talk about this game a little bit. Let's talk about Kai Jones' debut. Let's talk about what I saw from Naji Marshall. A couple things like that and more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Open Phone. If you're a small business owner, you know you've got so many things that are going on all the time. You're wearing a bunch of different hats. You've got calls, you've got texts, you've got meeting requests, you've got all kinds of different things. And as your business grows, it becomes impossible to manage everything with just your personal number. That's where Open Phone comes in. It's the #1 business system designed to help keep your work and personal life separate for just $15 a month, the cost of a couple cups of coffee. You get complete transparency and visibility into everything happening for your business on that phone number. Open Phone works through an app on your phone or a computer and integrates tools like HubSpot, hundreds of others, uses AI-powered call transcripts and summaries, so you'll have a rundown of your calls and action items the second your call ends, so you know exactly what to follow up on and do. That's great. Automated messages are sent directly to your customer, ensuring that you never miss an opportunity to engage. Right now, OpenPhone is offering 20% off your first 6 months when you go to openphone.com/lockedonnba. Again, OpenPhone, OPENPHONE, openphone.com/lockedonnba for 20% off 6 months. That's a long time. Openphone.com/lockedonnba. If you have an existing phone number with another service, Openphone will port them over at no extra charge.
Shut it down! Oh, let's go home!
All right, Slightly, the Mavs did play a game tonight. I feel like this is like the 8th show we've done where like the Mavs did play a game, but we're talking about something completely different because
I've never seen I've never experienced. I've never even seen anything like this for someone else. I think this has to be in contention. Assuming the season ends the way it looks like it's ending, for maybe the worst season a fan base has had.
And we'll probably do that show this summer too. We do which team had the worst season from hell, right? Like
it's got to be up
the there. Warriors. The Warriors when they got the #2 pick, that was a pretty bad season from hell from them. Clay was out, Steph was out.
Steph Curry was still on their team by the end of it. Like the people aren't factoring.
God bless.
Like, oh, remember when my team lost 12 games? Yeah, your team was terrible. Cool. That's not what we're talking about here.
Oh my gosh. It's true. It's true. All right. Well, the Mavs played a game. The Mavs played a game tonight. They lost the game. But Kai Jones made his debut. 21 points, 9 boards, had a block. The Mavs know how to use bigs. Everything I said about that I was hopeful about with him came true. The Mavs know how to use bigs. He was able to finish some lobs. He looks pretty good for him.
Yeah, I had a career high in points like halfway through the second quarter of the game. So
I didn't know those were that quick.
Yeah. His career high was I think 11. They said on the broadcast.
That's not surprising.
Yeah. So good for him, man. Yeah, he looked good. I mean, like you said, this team has just been so desperate for a big. And you just see how the way that this team plays is just perfect for a guy like Kai Jones. You see Moses Brown have great games. So, Yeah, I liked it. I like that he brings some much-needed athleticism to this team as well. And I thought there was a couple times where he got switched out on the perimeter against a guy like Malik Monk, and I thought he moved his feet really well and did a good job of preventing a drive. So, props to him, man. He did play really well tonight.
And he looked super engaged, looked like he was super excited and amped up to play for this team. He's 24. He was the 19th pick in 2021. He had some issues with the Hornets by the end, and from everything that I've heard and read since then, he's tried to rehabilitate his image. He's tried to, get help. He went to therapy, did all that kind of stuff, came back for the Clippers this past year. That didn't seem like the best fit. This is a player the Mavs can develop or can keep in that two-way spot and can actually play for him. And I think that's something that's exciting, too. I think that he'd be eligible next year. He's played 3 seasons. I think he's eligible next year because it's 4 seasons, right? So
you're asking the wrong guy.
He is. He would be eligible next year because it would be 4 seasons in the NBA. So I believe he'd be eligible for two-way next year. And so keep him on and keep him around, man. That's something that was a little exciting in a game like this, is that you have a guy that can fill in if all your bigs go down again, which, again, is just like the Mavs shouldn't have to have bigs on their two-way spot because they had a glut of bigs, right? You have AD can play 5. Lively, Gafford have to be 5s. Dwight Powell has to be a 5, right? And can play some solid minutes. But, I guess if that happens again, you got AD and Lively are injury prone, so keeping a guy around like Kai Jones seems great. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This game, I thought he played really well.
Yeah, good for him. And that's what you might end up seeing the last few weeks of the season is, well, let's just see what we got in Kai Jones. Let's just see if there's something there. And not only that, a franchise that feels like has not made the right choices a lot of the times the last month. It's not a bad thing to do to roll a guy out there. That you might not bring him back because you might not have the roster spots for him next year, but let him go out there and you sort of rehab his value across the league. Let Kai Jones go out there and do that. Let Max Christie get a few more on-ball reps. He's struggled a little bit lately. Get Hardy out there for 20, 25, 30 minutes. See if you can get something from him over the last 20 games.
If he's not hurt.
True. I forgot that I forgot that he hurt himself.
He
in this
went
game.
down.
Yeah, he hurt himself with an ankle injury.
In the third quarter. He was pounding the ground, too. He was pounding them.
It was a nasty looking.
Just when they don't get up, they're just down on the ground.
Yeah, and ankle injuries are scary because in the moment you don't really. All you know is that you twisted your ankle and
it just hurts.
It hurts, and you don't know the severity of it. But hopefully he's good. Because again, a stretch like this could be really big for him. Really big. Year 3, I don't know. I don't know what more he could really show, but a stretch over the last few weeks of the season where you have no choice but to play 25, 30 minutes a game could be really big for him. So
just give him all the opportunity, right? That you can get. Might as well.
Maybe that boosts his value in a trade in the summer. I don't know. So that's kind of what you can expect. The Omax minutes probably ramp up quite a bit over the next few weeks. Probably see.
Yeah. If you've been a guy that's this end of the bench player isn't playing enough and kid needs to play that player and he needs to give them a chance, this is your time right here. They're about to get a chance. They've gotten a chance already, but they're about to get even more of a chance the last 20 or so games of the season here.
Yeah.
I want to mention Naji Marshall because I thought of anyone else, he fought too. 18 points, had 12 in the second half, 6 assists, 5 boards, and he created all of his offense himself basically. Driving to the lane, creating stuff for himself off the dribble. I just thought he showed great fight, and I'm really glad he's on the Mavericks, and I think he's a fantastic role player for him. And this game is one of those where you go, oh man, he can score 18 points for you too if you need it.
Yeah, Naji stuffed the stat sheet tonight. Still 0 of 3 from 3, but one of the things that I have been saying is he attacks the space defenses give him really well. And he was 7 of 10 on 2-pointers. When he gets into the paint, he gets that floater. Defenses do collapse in on him because that shot is so lethal. And he's good at kicking the ball out and getting the ball in rotation, getting the defense in rotation off of that. So, Naji's going to go out there and play 100%. I feel like I'm never really questioning that.
No.
So just wrap him in bubble wrap, I guess, the rest of the way.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that, and I want him to take a bunch of threes, right? The rest of the season, these are going to be no pressure threes that he's going to get a lot of opportunities. Get that confidence back in your shot and take those. He passed up one. Max Christie, him, they both passed up threes tonight in the second half.
He can never pass up a 3.
That one was really tough. You could hear it from the crowd. The crowd going, oh, Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing passing up that three?
Yeah, the coaching staff just needs to ingrain in Christie. You are shooting open threes.
You're a
Like,
shooter.
Naji throughout his career, the 3-point percentage has fluctuated a little bit. Christie, if you're not shooting threes, then I don't know what you're doing.
And in that analytical brain of yours, Christy, think about the best version, like which best shots we could get. Yours is you with an open three is up there in like top 5 of what this current team could potentially create as far as a shot. So
I do not care if you are 0 of 6.
No.
You are shooting every open three you get.
No, you do the Dion Waiters where if you're 0 of 6, you might as well be over 20, right? Like that means you stop shooting if you're only over 6.
Yes, exactly.
On that point. All right, we wait to see what happens with this team. Obviously, we'll have more shows for you. Caleb Martin was supposed to be back next game.
What do you even do with him?
I guess you just bring him back. But yeah, we'll continue to have shows. Slightly has a great YouTube channel. Go check out Slightly Biased. Go check out that video from Brian Suterer as well. Great stuff all the time on his channel. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. Check the QR code. The link's in the description for different ways to follow the show, the newsletter, the text line. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Peace out. Boom.
Please, good news for Kyrie, man. He doesn't deserve this.
Agreed.